everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, what we're going to be looking at is what is CDP? What is LLDP? So let's take a look and see what kind of setup we actually need first. I'm going to get myself a router. I always put one IP address. All right. Watch this. I'm going to get two switches just like this. And then I'm going to put actual computers. Let's say a few computers. Let's say one, two, and one, two, right? A nice setup. And let me put the actual cables over here. So gigabit 00 connects to gigabit 01, and gigabit 01 connects to gigabit 01 right over here. And let me just hook up my actual laptops themselves. Let me just move these over here a little bit, right? Just to have it more organized. And let me put my actual cables. So this one connects to, let's say, port one. This one connects to port two. This one connects to port one. And this one connects to port two. So I have two different networks. That means I have two different broadcast domains. Remember, the router breaks the broadcast. If these machines send a broadcast, the broadcast will be stopped over here. It will not pass through by default. What I'm trying to say is this side is going to be the 192.168, let's say 100.0/24. And this side will be 192.168, 200.0/24, right? So I have two different networks, two different broadcasts. So I want to go to the router. This is going to be R1. This one will be switch one, all right? And this one will be switch two. So let me go to the router first, CLI, and put some IP configuration. So first of all, I want to change the host name. Host name, let's say R1. Interface gigabit 0/0. IP address is 100.254. All right, 100.254. Space the default subnet mask. And I'm going to do a no shut over here. Then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 01 and IP address. I'm hitting the up arrow. I'm switching this to 200. And of course, no shut. Control Z and then WR. If I want to look and see what networks I support, I could see show IP interface brief, right? This is good, but then I could do show IP route. This displays my routing table. It tells me what am I actually connected to. I could look at just the connected routes. As you see, I support the 100 and the 200. Perfect. Let me go to the switch on the right-hand side, CLI, host name SW1, right? Interface VLAN1, and I'm going to put an IP address that is 100.253. Space 255.205.205.0, and I'm going to do a no shut, right? And then do WR. And this side will be 200.253. So config T, interface, or let's say the host name is switch 2, then interface VLAN 1, IP address 200.253. 192.168.200.253, space the default subnet mask, and I'm going to do a no shut. All right, just like this. Now, I want to know who my neighbors are, right, based on the router itself. So by default, there's CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol, and that only works on Cisco products. And there's LLDP, link layer discovery protocol that works on any vendor. It's an open standard. So LLDP is an open standard. CDP only works on Cisco products. All right. So one thing to look at right now, if I go to the router and I say, go CDP neighbors, I can see who my neighbors are. Okay, I could see my neighbors. Now this is cached over here. So let me just do WR and reload my router so I don't see that. Let me go to the first switch, WR, and reload my switch. And same thing over here, WR, and reload the switch. So I'm going to go to the router, watch this, and this time CDP is running by default. Go CDP neighbors. Look at this. One of my neighbors is switch 1, and my other neighbor is switch 2. How am I connected to switch 1? I am using what? My gigabit 00 on router 1 is connected to switch 1 port what? gigabit 01. My gigabit 01 on router 1 is hooked up to switch 2 through port gigabit 01. It tells me it's a 2960. It tells me it's a switch, how long it's holding it, and that's the default. I mean, hold time. I'm going to show you the hold time itself and how like what is the timer? How often does it update to look for neighbors? All right, watch this. Go CDP, let's say interfaces, and enter. Look, it sends CDP packets every 60 seconds. Like, hello, is there anybody there? Then it hold on to that information for 180 seconds. Okay, so by default, CDP is running. If I go to my actual switch, let's say this switch here, and I do show CDP run, show CDP, let's say neighbors first. I can see who I'm actually connected to, the router through my local interface, and to the router to gigabit, and it tells me it's a 1900 router, R for router. Show CDP interface, and I could see my interfaces themselves, right? It sends updates every 60 seconds, and it holds on to that information for 180 seconds. So I could collect information about my neighbors if I go back to the router and I do show CDP interface. I could see that it's running every 60 seconds and it holds on to 180 seconds. But if I do show CDP run, not this one, show CDP, and then I do go ahead and I run the actual entry. Watch this, and I do asterisk enter. It gives me more information. So it tells me, hello, you're connected to switch 2. This is the IP address of switch 2. It's a 2960. It tells me through which ports, and here's the iOS, like more and more information. So it talks about the switches that I'm actually connected to. So I could see switch 2 and I can see switch 1 over here. See that? So if I want to look for help, show CDP, question mark, I could see entry, interface, neighbors. If I want to disable CDP, I mean, first of all, why would I need CDP? I want to see who I'm actually connected to. But let's say after I know who I'm actually connected to, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to disable it because I don't want it to be wasting resources. All right, watch this. So I could get rid of it by doing no CDP run, just like that. And then if I do show CDP neighbors, it tells me CDP is not enabled. So once you see your neighbors and you know that you're not going to be connecting anything there, what are you going to do? You're going to go ahead and disable it. If I do show LLDP, and same thing, neighbors, it says LLDP is not enabled. So LLDP is an open standard. So if I go to config T and I do LLDP and I enable it, as you see, run, all right? And then I go to my actual switch and I do config T and I do LLDP run, enable it, and I go to this switch. That's an open standard, works on Cisco and non-Cisco products. And I do config T, LLDP, and I do run. As you see right now, if I go back to the router, so CDP is the one that you want to be actually using. Show LLDP, and I would say neighbors, and I could see my actual neighbors, right? As you see, it's looking at it as a bridge, but it's really an actual switch. That's how LLDP looks at it because before switches, there was actually bridges. That's what it was called. Bridges is a software base where switches is a hardware based device. So CDP, LLDP, they're both for neighbor discovery. CDP is owned by Cisco, only works on Cisco products, where LLDP is an open standard, works on Cisco and non Cisco itself. I want to see who my neighbors are. I work with CDP. And once I actually see my neighbors, I can get rid of CDP. No CDP run in global configuration mode. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. We'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now.